You're listening to the Gerardi Performance Podcast, hosted by Michelangelo Gerardi. This is the #1 fitness and lifestyle podcast to help you achieve your dream body and bulletproof your mindset to live your best life, both physically and mentally. Enjoy the show.
In this episode of the Gerardi Performance Podcast, I'm giving you all the tips I know about creatine and how to use it most effectively. Now, the first question I know I'm going to be asked is, do you take creatine yourself? The answer to that is no, not currently. I used to, but that doesn't mean I have anything against it. It's just not something that I feel like I need to invest in right now. Now, when I have vacations planned a few months out, I'll start supplementing with creatine just to look my best on the beach. And while I'm sipping that pina colada, kind of looking my best, doing everything I can to look good with my shirt off on the beach. But that's really the only reason why I use the creatine supplement. Otherwise, I don't really use it. But if you're looking to get stronger and increase performance, I definitely recommend investing in this. It's the most studied supplement on the market. And just for clarification, I'm talking about creatine monohydrate in this episode, which is the most researched and used today, like I said. Now, just to give you a little background from a bird's eye view on how creatine works, is that our muscles use what's called ATP. It's a molecule in our muscles, in our body, that helps them work and helps them perform. So when we're doing those bicep curls, or even when we're walking, really anytime our muscle has to work, it needs ATP to generate energy. If it runs out of ATP, the next source is glucose. But it needs ATP to even make the glucose. So if we don't have ATP, we don't have energy, our muscles won't work, especially when working out. So what creatine does is help regenerate that ATP, and that's what makes us stronger, that regeneration of ATP, so that our muscles aren't getting as fatigued as quickly. So that'll help us with increasing performance, increasing the amount of weight that we use, being able to do more reps in a set. That's the reason why. Creatine increases ATP. Now, research has shown that not all people respond equally to ATP. So we have responders and non-responders. The non-responders usually have a lower percentage of type 2 muscle fibers and already have a high initial muscle creatine content, as opposed to the responders, people who respond well to creatine, have a high percentage of type 2 muscle fibers and a lower percentage or initial muscle creatine content. Now, when's the best time to take creatine / what should you take it with? A study by Crater et al. Showed that creatine uptake is increased by double the amount when taken with a carbohydrate or a carbohydrate in a protein. So what I would suggest you do for max absorption to get the most out of your creatine supplementation and serving size is to take it with, let's say, a banana in a protein shake, or, a fruit smoothie with protein, or, with a meal with your chicken and rice. That's going to allow you to absorb all of the creatine that you can. Now, should you take it pre-workout, post-workout, in the morning, at night? The research shows that that's not as important as taking it with a carb or a protein. So, if you want to take it, you can take it at any time, though the research not totally sold on this. It says that you may see increased benefits with taking it post-workout as opposed to pre, but the benefits weren't really significant. So that really means, take it whenever you want. But if you want to really get down to the nitty-gritty, take it post-workout. That'll be the best for max absorption and efficiency in that serving size. In terms of frequency, you want to take creatine every day if you can. Now, if you miss a day or two, that's no big deal, but you really want to take this every single day to keep your muscles saturated with the creatine. Let's say you go a whole week or 2 weeks without taking the creatine, your muscles will desaturate, and then you'll have to kind of start all over again from scratch. So, I don't know the exact time frame and how that happens, but the point is you want to take it as frequent as possible every day if you can. You really should be taking it, every day. Again, the time of day doesn't really matter as long as you're doing it with a carbohydrate and a protein, or just a carbohydrate, just to keep your muscles saturated with that creatine, because, again, the creatine is what creates ATP, and ATP is the energy for your muscles. Now, the question is, do you have to load with creatine? People go back and forth on this, and so I'm just going to tell you what the research that I've seen shows, is that you could really do it either way. So if you want to load, and what loading with creatine is that you take a higher upfront dosage in the beginning just to saturate your muscles quicker with the creatine. But again, the research shows that in terms of effectiveness of what creatine does in increasing performance, strength, and kind of power, it doesn't really matter. So you could choose to load where you'll take 10 to 15 grams a day for the first 5 to 7 days, and then go down to the 3 to 5 grams that's usually recommended on the back of the bottles or the supplement containers, or you can just start with the 3 to 5 from the beginning per serving size per day, but it'll just take longer for your muscles to saturate with the creatine. So again, in terms of effectiveness, it doesn't really matter. It just, if you want to kind of speed up the process of saturating your muscles with the creatine to start seeing the strength and the power output kind of increase faster, then you should start with a loading phase where you're taking a higher dosage up front and then easing into the 3 to 5 grams, as opposed to starting with 3 to 5 grams off the bat and waiting for your muscles to saturate for a little bit longer. Up to you. Doesn't really matter. When I did it, I did the 3 to 5 grams from the beginning and just waited for my muscles to saturate with the creatine. So I'm sure you guys are wondering at this point, Mike, what did you see when you took creatine? What were the benefits for you? What was your experience like? And so I'll let you in. Again, I haven't taken this in a long time, maybe 5-6 years, but I do remember that it definitely increased my strength within the first couple of weeks of taking it after my muscles had saturated. I was able to not only increase the number of reps per set with the given weight, but also increase the weight I was using for that given set. So for example, if I started off with a 100-pound dumbbell doing 10 reps, I was quickly able to now do that 100-pound dumbbell, but for 12 to 15 reps. And same thing kind of applies for increasing weight, right? So now I was able to do 105 to 110-pound dumbbells for that 10 reps, where I was only initially able to do 100 pounds. So that's kind of how my strength increased. And obviously with the strength increase will come the increased muscle mass. So I looked bigger, had bigger muscle appearance, filling out my clothes a little bit better. I loved it, but again, at this point where I am, I don't feel like that's necessary. It's not a top priority for me, so I just don't invest in the supplement. But that's not to say that you shouldn't or anything's bad with it. And now you may be asking, what are the side effects of creatine? And the only consistently reported side effect of creatine is that it causes weight gain due to water retention in the muscle. And that's completely normal. That's what gives your muscles that bigger appearance, especially at first, is that they're taking on some muscle. Now, though that being said, some research does show that if you're not drinking enough water, stomach cramping can occur. So be sure you're staying hydrated throughout the day. So now just some key points that I want you guys to take away from this here is that, 1, creatine monohydrate is the most effective and cheapest form of creatine, so I'd stick with that. Number 2, take it with adequate protein and carbs, and ideally post-workout. 3, a loading phase will help it act faster. Otherwise, just take 3 to 5 grams per day. Cycling isn't really needed. 4, there are no known adverse health effects of long-term creatine supplementation, but I would still check with your doctor if you are worried. And just keep in mind that creatine is a very small piece of the puzzle. Your nutrition and your training should come first and be your number one priority, because these are much more important factors when it comes to delivering the results that you want. Supplementation, should be the very last thing you consider. It should supplement your proper diet and workout plan. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please, guys, leave a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Music and share it with friends. That's how these podcasts grow, is by word of mouth. And so when you share it on your social media or you tell a friend about it, helps me out a ton. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on social media or my email, mike@gerardiperformance.com. And I'll see you on the next one.